and welcome to a brand new Geek Bite brought to you by the
Geek Buddies.
Hey! We're recording this at 7:15 in the morning. I got my Starbucks. I got my robe on. Shannon McClung is barely awake. Michael Vogel looking chipper as ever, ready to head off to the gym. How are you, gentlemen?
I'm good. I'm ready to head off to the gym as soon as this. I'm having my protein shake while we talk Fantastic Four. It's a great morning.
That's right. That's what we're talking about on this particular Geek Bite here. We're breaking down the Fantastic Four trailer, giving our thoughts on it, talking a little bit on the Easter eggs as well, and get into all the things that we got. So let's not waste any time because we've got a limited amount of time. Let's talk about it. What a trailer here. Fantastic Four teaser trailer, about a minute and 37 seconds here. We got a lot of things teased. The aesthetic, the vibe, the energy of it all, the 1960s kind of postmodern look here. We got the Baxter building, the fantastic car. We got to see the rocket ship. We got Ben Grimm and Herbie. We got ourselves a shot here of Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm and her powers and how she's able to use them. We also saw Johnny Storm's powers. We saw John Malkovich possibly playing a villain from the Fantastic Future in the comics here. We saw some threat of danger coming, and then we got some shots of Galactus by the end of the trailer. So, Vogel, your thoughts on this trailer? What stood out to you? What worked for you? What caught your eye? What'd you think?
I think it was awesome seeing Reed Richards' powers. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
We didn't see those. That was interesting. The absence of Reed Richards' powers, which are arguably the most dangerous in how they look in live action. So didn't see that, although to be fair, we did actually see Reed Richards' superpower, which is his amazing intellect, which is really what makes Reed Richards the most cool dad in the Marvel universe. So we did sort of see Reed's powers, even though they didn't actually show us Reed's powers. But other than that, it looked great. Everything, we were lucky enough to see some of the sneak peek footage that they showed at Comic-Con. So we had already seen some of the stuff that we knew to expect, like this sort of very retro futuristic, like the future of yesteryear 1960s kind of vibe, which seeing more of that just made me thrilled. Really getting to see Ben Grimm in action, see Ben Grimm in the kitchen, like really seeing some of that stuff was really, really great. But I think the biggest thing that this trailer did, more than showing powers or giving any big reveals about the plot or the villains, is it showed the Fantastic Four as a family. I mean, they opened up that trailer with that 4:3 ratio with Reed and Sue talking to the person that they were giving a tour to the Baxter building about, and they're talking about family dinner. We see Ben cooking dinner, and then Sue's whole speech at the end is no matter what we do, no matter what we have to face, we're going to do it as a family. And so, even though Marvel's first family is coming to the MCU much later than many of our other heroes, it's clear that in addition to going for this really retro vibe, they're really, really doubling down on this is a movie about a family. And I think that heart is really the thing that is going to win people over. All the other stuff is icing. All of the cool stuff, all the stuff you showed, the fantastic car, the rocket, the special effects, the powers, that's all icing on the cake. What's going to make this movie work, if it works, is that this will still be Marvel's first family.
Yeah, a great point you bring up here, Michael. Shannon, your thoughts? What's your reaction to this trailer? What did you think? What stood out to you? What worked for you as you were watching this thing?
I mean, this was the true definition of a teaser. Like this is a tease of the world, a tease of the movie. In terms of the aesthetics, they absolutely nailed it thus far. And knowing that historically the Marvel Cinematic Universe has done action really, really well. The sneak peeks that we're seeing from Captain America, maybe notwithstanding.
How dare you say that in front of? Yeah, go ahead. Yes,
but we know we are very, very certain that the action of Fantastic Four is going to look great.
Yeah.
What we did see of the powers, I mean, I think Johnny, they've done this before. Johnny still looks freaking cool. Watching what Sue Storm is doing looks freaking cool. The shot that you have where we see the pre-rocked Ben Grimm looking at the footage of before they go up in that first launch.
Yeah.
And when the TV turns off, you see the shot of the post-rocked Ben Grimm. Like that's just really, really good filmmaking right there. That's just, again, good those are really, really good vibes. And, you know, I know some folks do have an affection for those Tim Story movies that came out in like 2005. I do think the dynamic that they got between Johnny and Ben was right in that. But I never thought they really nailed Reed and Sue. And based off of this, it seems like that's the dynamic that they are focusing on this time. I mean, them just walking into basically the living room quarters of the Baxter Building.
Yeah.
Reed sounds like the cadence that Pedro Pascal has adopted. He almost sounds like Matthew Broderick, and I love. I mean, if that's a choice, I love that choice. I'm like, he comes off like a dad in this, and so I mean, in terms of it just being a teaser, it checked off all the boxes. I loved it. Would I have liked to have seen more? Of course.
Yeah.
But there's a long time before July.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting. Speaking of vocal choices, the other thing I liked is what Evan Moss-Bacharach did is that he's not doing gruff, rocky voice.
Yeah.
And I think that that's actually kind of interesting. Like, and I think when we all picture Ben Grimm in our head, because you look at the picture, oh, Johnny, it's clobbering time. And I think not doing that and just talking regularly kind of makes you realize even more that there's a man trapped underneath all that rock.
Yeah,
which I think is nice.
Yeah, I think great points both of you bring up about Ben. That's what stood out to me about watching the trailer. My reaction to the trailer is up on the channel now. What I got away from it, yes, the family stuff, but that undercurrent of angst and guilt that has always accompanied the Fantastic Four. Reed Richards' feeling of guilt of the fact that whatever happened on this rocket, he has taken on because all these things changed because of what happened on that rocket. It's no accident that we see him like doing all the calculations on these massively long chalkboards, maybe the multiverse, or maybe this is, him trying to figure out what went wrong on the rocket or whatever. And we hear him say, like, before you turned invisible, before Ben became a rock, before Johnny could turn on fire, there's this pining for the time before. And Sue is the one that has to be like, no, whatever happened, we're going to get over it. We're going to get through it. Whatever we confront, we're going to get through as a family. But throughout, you have that feeling of guilt, and Ben Grimm encapsulates that. The fact that they spent time with him and Herbie, who we didn't hear Natasha Lyonne, or whoever's going to do the voice, we didn't hear anything from Herbie, but the fact you've got him there having that connection with Herbie, and then later the kids are wearing the masks of the thing. So clearly he is like a well-known, loved by the kids hero. But for him looking at himself before he turned into the thing, that's such a big part of the Fantastic Four lore. So to hint at it, I thought was really nice. And like you said, Michael, making him not be gruff, but rather just like talking regular, having the back and forth about the sauce, that makes you connect with that character even more. So I thought that was genius in its approach.
I mean, Natasha Lyonne's playing Alicia Masters.
Is she? I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
If I'm going to put my money on... If I'm going to put my money on where Natasha Lyonne is going to be, particularly since we've seen that they're going to that they're definitely leaning into Ben feeling like a monster. The Comic-Con footage showed Ben being on some kind of dating show. Ben's getting a girlfriend, and the girlfriend has red hair. It's Natasha Lyonne.
Okay. All right. Fair point. Sounds like you're right. So maybe Paul Walter Hauser is voicing Herbie. That might be very possible. But there's also a shocking shot that we got here. That's John Malkovich. And John Malkovich, really interesting to see him being a part of this. He may be playing an old villain of the Fantastic Four, Ivan Kragoff, a.k.a. the Red Ghost, as you can see here. So an interesting choice to bring him in. Michael, what do you know about Ivan Kragoff? What do you know about the Red Ghost? Do you think that's who Malkovich is playing? And do you like him being added as another thing they have to deal with here, along with Galactus, Silver Surfer, and whatever's coming out of the sky?
I mean, the rumors are Ivan Kragoff, and when you look at the picture with the white hair and the beard and everything, he looks like Ivan Kragoff from the comics. Ivan Kragoff. There's boiling it down to his bare minimum. In the Fantastic Four comics, the Fantastic Four went to the blue side of the moon, which has an area with oxygen that the X-Men have fought on, and the Watcher's always hanging out there. So it's a big part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Ivan Kragoff went up there with some gorillas, tried to give them Fantastic Four powers. There was a big fight. He's in the comics. He's not like a heavy hitter for the Fantastic Four, but I think what's interesting in him being, there's a couple things. One, we know John Malkovich is in it. He looks like Ivan Kragoff. There's also been a lot of rumors that the Mole Man is going to appear in the Fantastic Four movie, who was in the very, very first issue of the Fantastic Four. And we know we've seen Galactus. We know we have the female version of the Silver Surfer. So there's a lot going on in this movie. And how all of these different villains appear, why they appear, when they appear, is going to be part of the balancing act. Like, I don't know. No, to your point, we talk a lot about going up in space and how they got their powers, but we see kids wearing the Ben Grimm costume. Like you said, like, this is a world where the Baxter Building is there. The Fantastic Four are known. They are the celebrities of this universe. They are the superhero family of this area of the multiverse. So
absolutely.
Are we going to see their first encounter with the Mole Man? Are we going to see their first encounter with Ivan Kragoff? Or are these heroes that they have fought in the past, and something about Galactus brings all of these villains out of the woodwork as well? In the Marvel comics, the Fantastic Four got together with all of Marvel's superheroes, and they all fought Galactus in New York City. But if you're going to battle Galactus in this world, and you don't have Spider-Man and the Avengers and everybody else, is this something about them bringing everybody together? I don't know. But so it's interesting, because I don't know that we're doing the origin story. You can't do the origin story of the Fantastic Four and do the Galactus story and make it all work. So how these other villains are going to take place. And when you put someone like John Malkovich in the role, you go, okay, well, we're probably not doing remember that time we fought Ivan Kragoff? Cut to a quick shot of Ivan Kragoff. Like, you're not going to waste John Malkovich like that. So it makes me feel like there's some bigger story going on with villains that they fought in the past, or something like that.
Yeah, and Kragoff was essentially becomes what he becomes, an evil genius, because he gets exposed to the cosmic rays. So was he on the ship with them? What is the story there? It's interesting ways you can go with it, that are playing around maybe with a little bit of the mythology. Shannon, what did you think of the shot of Ivan Kragoff, and is he playing a Red Ghost? And the other side of this thing, what Michael mentioned, what did you think of the shots of Galactus? Was this enough for you to get super excited? Did the scope work for you? Did the perspective work for you? Let me know what you thought about both of these things.
I mean, I've never really read any issues with Ivan Kragoff in it. I know of his existence as a character, but choosing to include him in a 1960s set world, a Soviet scientist, I think that is a very, very deliberate choice. And also John Malkovich, he seems like a great one movie bad guy. And that we are not going to, I doubt going forward, Ivan Kragoff's going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I hadn't really given thought to Vogel's theory that in the absence of other heroes, that the Fantastic Four might enlist the help of villains.
Yeah. And that is full theory time. Like, the chances of that being true, maybe 10-15%, but it was just something that occurred to me.
But that's a great theory, though, because I mean, the rumor that Paul Walter Hauser is going to play Mole Man, and when you look at Paul Walter Hauser, it's like, man, that's really good casting. The idea that you have multiple villains, or at least two that we know of, earthbound villains, that what brings people together is a common enemy, and the common enemy in this case would be someone that wants to eat your planet. So putting them together, like, I think that is a really, really strong theory. And in terms of just the visuals of Galactus, what we've seen, I mean, one of the things that got people excited during the promotional materials for Eternals were those giant shots of the Celestials, and a lot of folks were like, oh, is that Galactus? Now we get the OG Galactus coming in. I mean, the giant helmet, you see the silhouette cast. It's just very, very exciting. And it's also, in terms of villains, it's sort of like, how do we deal with this? Like, how do we beat this over our years of being this, superhero family, basically the Beatles of this world? How do we fight this? How do we get over our personal issues, as well as coming together to fight this thing that we've never faced before? I think everything looked great. And again, very, very excited to see what's coming this July.
Yeah, what do you think, Mike, about Galactus? Do you like the way it was presented here? He's just right at the end, the scope, the size, the shadow of him all over New York. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think one of the great things about seeing Galactus and seeing him fully realized, even though it's just a shadow and a quick shot of the back of his head, is that, back in the early 2000s when the Fantastic Four movies, the first those original Tim Story Fantastic Four movies came out, no movie executive was ever going to let you put a giant purple man with a helmet on in their movie. So what they got with their Galactus was a cloud.
Yeah.
A cloud showed up, and all comic book fans were like, this is stupid. But like this, like, I just love that comic book movies have reached this point where putting this giant cosmic being in the sky is like, yeah, that's what you do, because that's what's in the comics. So seeing everything, I mean, I think he's like the culmination of everything that's great about this trailer, is that every other version of the Fantastic Four has tried to contextualize the Fantastic Four in modern times and say, oh, well, this is what they're doing. This is the modern times. Oh, well, that was a little bit too cheesy. Let's do like the gritty, realistic, like Josh Trank one. And like, this is just, hey, the Fantastic Four were like awesome in the 60s. And there's a big dude in the sky that wants to eat your planet. Like, that's like, this is just what we're doing. And I love that we're just going for it. I mean, everything about this is, like I said this on our text chain yesterday, even about the teaser for the teaser, which is, there's just some swagger to all of this reveal. The teaser to the teaser, the countdown clock, the launch of the trailer as a live event. Like, Marvel clearly feels like they've got the goods on this one. Yeah, and they don't always feel like they've got the goods. So, like, as Shannon mentioned, some of these clips coming out on Brave New World, I feel like they're like, hey guys, maybe come to our movie. It might be good. Whereas this, they're like, we've got a movie. So I thought it was really great. I do think, in addition to not seeing Reed's powers, the other member of the first family that we've not seen that is rumored to be a pretty big part of this is Franklin Richards.
Yeah.
And when you have a movie called Fantastic Four First Steps, yes, it's the Fantastic Four's first steps into the MCU, or their first steps into the multiverse, but babies make first steps too. And I think Franklin Richards being in this, and that's another reason why I think we're not necessarily doing origin, because I don't know that you do, hey guys, we got powers. Hey, Reed and Sue had a kid. Hey, Galactus is here. Like, that's a 18-hour movie. So I'm curious to see where this all lands as far as when the Fantastic Four are in their existence, because I do think Franklin Richards is a big part of this story.
Well, also, when you think about where the Fantastic Four are where they are in this world, like, they clearly have been around for a minute, and you have this family unit that operates ostensibly really well. What could change that? Sue having a child. I mean, that definitely alters your sort of group dynamics. So, I mean, I think about the way that they're giving the interview to that, I'm assuming, a reporter inside the Baxter building, and the fact that they have family dinner. I mean, again, what changes that? And that the addition of a child, the addition of a baby. So, I mean, I think that's probably again, a pretty interesting theory.
Yeah.
The other thing, I mean, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead. What's the other thing?
No, I was going to say, like, what I really also enjoyed about this trailer, and they've said this, I mean, the rumors have been that this is really Sue Storm's movie.
Yes.
And when you watch this trailer, and it's not Reed Richards who has the big speech at the end of this teaser, it's Sue Storm who's like, and I think that really works for me as a fan of the Fantastic Four, is that Reed is a genius, but Reed is also, clearly they're leaning into, I'm racked by guilt because it's my fault that my family has these abilities, or curses, depending on how you look at it, particularly with Ben. Johnny is Johnny. I mean, Sue literally says it. Like, Ben has always been a rock. He's always been stubborn. He's always been dealing with his thing. Johnny is Johnny. And Reed is super, super smart, but has guilt, can overthink things, can sort of spin out because he's thinking about so many things at once. It's really Sue who grounds this family. It's Sue Storm who makes the Fantastic Four work as a group. And so I think them kind of leaning into that as well gives Sue Storm much more of a reason for being, and really elevates her to like a major female player in the MCU, which I think is going to be really smart as well.
Which has been the rumors, as you said, and it's very clear throughout the trailer that they wanted to just make it clear that that's where they're going with this whole situation, which I appreciate. I agree I said, because you know what? With a lot of families, the mothers are the glue. The mothers are the one that brings the family together and gets them to sit down and have dinner every Sunday at 7 p.m. or whatever he said at the beginning. There is this thing of like bringing people together again and having them focus on it. And the way she talks, and, you know, calling Ben a rock, it's like that he's strong, that he does get through things, that he can deal with this stuff. So I think that's another element of it. I didn't see stubborn. I saw that
he's stubborn. And he's stubborn.
Well, sure, but he didn't say it. She said a rock implies someone who's strong, who, like, you know, unmovable and that kind of thing. You can't break him easy. So you've got that element to him, which I think is nice. It's a test of the angst.
You wouldn't let the robot cook, Johnny.
Well, you know, he said, let me taste the sauce first, which I thought was a nice bear reference in my opinion. But, Shannon, what did you think of the powers here? Do you like the look of the powers and the usage they made here of what we saw with, I don't have any shot of Johnny because it's just him in flames. It's not that big of a deal. We've seen that before a million times. But what do you think of the shots of the powers here that we got and the look of Ben Grimm? And some people have been speculating online. He looks too small. He's not as big. I've seen some criticisms already this morning about that. Your thoughts? And then Michael, after you, go ahead.
God forbid he does
I think Johnny.
Roll.
Again, I think Johnny looks great. And just the brief vibe that we get of him, their inclusion in the MCU. This is someone that gets along with Peter Parker. This is someone that gets along with Tom Holland. Like that's the vibe that I get right away. Like he's laying on a couch with a helmet on, and that, hey, I wasn't doing anything. The look of Ben, I think is good. I mean, I know traditionally in the comics that he is a bit taller. I kind of like this because I think it lends more to what Vogel had said earlier, that there's a man underneath all that. Yeah. And I think when you make him 8 feet tall or 7 feet tall, it's like, you lose a little bit of that. Again, there are probably folks that are not happy with that choice, that like, no, we want the big hulking thing. The way Sue looks in those two brief glimpses, one, the invisibility that we see on the ship.
I mean,
that's someone turned invisible. That works. But in terms of her bending her force fields, I mean, this is a power visually that we have not seen yet in the MCU. I mean, we've seen big, strong people. We've seen people kind of light on fire. But what she does, I'm like, that needed to look different. You can see how the light kind of refracts in the force field. And I think that was probably that thus far is a really, really smart choice. And in terms of Reed's powers, they don't need to show it yet. I mean, it has as Vogel already said, it has the highest potential to look kind of silly. Yeah. And I think they want to have their best first step. And maybe we don't lead with Reed's powers until we're absolutely sure that we've nailed it.
Maybe he doesn't even get to show his powers until a critical moment later in the film. Maybe he doesn't stretch initially and everyone else has powers, but he's fine. And so maybe that adds to the guilt. Like, nothing happened to me, everything happened to you guys. That could be a possibility as well.
I don't think they're going to go Reed just doesn't get his powers because
I said later in the film. Something may cause him and then the powers then come to him or whatever to save somebody. It's possible. Yeah, I know.
I think he probably just doesn't.
That's your answer to everything I say. Well, but I'm just trying to throw. I like to throw things out there for people to consider and think about.
You know, you're a rock. You're stubborn.
Sure.
I think maybe he just doesn't do it. He just doesn't do it that often. Like he does it when he has to do it. He's not Johnny. He's not a show off. Like he uses his stretching when his stretching is useful.
Maybe he values this more than the stretching. That's very possible too.
I mean, he does value this more than the stretching, but I think look, I think there's a reason that you have a shot of Reed Richards writing on a chalkboard that is immensely long.
Yes.
It's Reed Richards. He's writing on a chalkboard. He's got to reach for something. Like, it's pretty clear why that chalkboard is there in that shot. We just aren't seeing it. I think all of these reasons that you're going why Reed might not show his powers or might not choose to show his powers are super valid. The reality is, I think they're saving that because they probably haven't gotten it quite nailed down yet. And we're going to see Reed Richards stretch.
I don't know. I see people with big chalkboard. I go, I got to show off how big my brain is. So that's the way I look at it. But you might be right. It might be stretchy.
Sure.
So, I know we got a little bit of time, but like, I go back to the aesthetic here. What'd you think of the Baxter Building? I mean, this is essentially Avengers Tower in this universe. We got the Fantastic Car, which can fly, which was showed, I think, at Comic-Con. The shots of the rocket here, going back in time to them the space outfits, which are really cool, I think, as well. And then finally this shot with the costumes fully on. It's amazing that they've pulled this off and not made it look cheesy. What did you think about how they portrayed this, and how much did the production designer take a bow after this trailer, for God's sakes?
Oh, was that to me?
No, it was Michael. I was asking Michael. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, look, I think it's great. I think the way you make the Fantastic Four not look cheesy is make the entire world look like the Fantastic Four. You know, if you put those four in that costume from from that final shot that you showed, and they're standing in the middle of our modern day MCU, that's going to look a little cheesy. Like, it just isn't going to fit in with the aesthetic. And so you go, okay, well, how do you do it? Well, let's put them in another universe and make the entire universe look like that. Like, let's go fully retro futuristic, Jetsons, the tomorrow of yesteryear. And I think that makes the whole world feel unique. Like, you look at that Baxter building, you look at everything, even starting the trailer in that 4:3 ratio and then letting it expand. Like, everything kind of says this is kind of this old timey thing. And look, there's that era of America, that era of space exploration and landing on the moon, and like, that was a moment in time that, for better or for worse, many people look back on that time and go, wasn't it great?
Yeah.
And it was great for some people, and it wasn't great for other people. But that's an argument for another day. The point is the feeling of that, that era of space exploration. Anything is possible. Norman Rockwell, all of that holds a very nostalgic part in everybody's hearts. Like where you kind of go, oh, the idea of that, which was often better than the reality, feels great. And so putting it in a different universe that doesn't have any of our issues, any of our political trials and tribulations, and saying, hey, you know that really nice time in America that everybody thinks was great for everyone, even if it wasn't? Here, in this universe, it's great. And the Fantastic Four is great, and they made everything better. Reed Richards is super smart. He solved a bunch of issues. Everybody's happy. Everybody loves the Fantastic Four. So it allows us to sort of immerse ourselves in the idea of something where the idea is kind of maybe a little bit better than the reality was. So I think, again, it makes them feel really at home there. And I think also this gives the Fantastic Four an entire movie to just be an awesome Fantastic Four without having to deal with Wakanda or Vibranium or Thanos or the Snap or anything. Like, it's just like, this is just them being them. And whether it is what Galactus does at the end of the movie that leads to them jumping into the multiverse, or that's the post-credit sequence, we know they're going to come to our universe, whether it's at the end of their movie or sometime in Doomsday. But I think giving us this one big adventure with them is kind of like, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah. Shannon, your thoughts on the look and the aesthetic, like there, of the Baxter building, the Fantastic car? Like, did they nail all of that to put you in the right place, in the right state of mind for what they're presenting here?
Yeah, it looks like everything looks like it belongs. And the Baxter building, the ship, the Fantastic car, they are not supposed to look like they're straight out of the 60s. They're supposed to look like the 60s with a little bit of an asterisk.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like. I mean, that moment in Hall H last Comic-Con where they had the flying Fantastic car hooked up, I believe, with some drone technology, and it did not quite move as fast as the car and that we see in the teaser. Like, I think that was probably a fun idea, that they're like, oh boy, that thing is slow and people are not quite as wowed as we thought they were going to be. Watching it on just on the street level, kind of weaving in and out of traffic, I think that looks fantastic. I think that looks fantastic. And just the design of the car. I mean, that looks like a 1960s Chevy right there. I mean, I think it just the vibe is just really, really strong, and the production designer being able to make like the 60s that didn't quite happen like that. I think those are all super strong choices, and based off of like the look of the Baxter building, I can't see what the reverse of it looks like, but it looks like it's kind of like four pillars, which I think is
in columns now it's coming down.
Yeah. So again, all strong choices.
Yeah, I loved it. It's the mixture, right? It's the going in the past but feel like the future. It's like the Jetsons. It has that Jetsons vibe, and I love that as an approach and as an aesthetic. And it'll also give us like a fish out of water type of stuff when they go into the main MCU, when they go to either Doomsday or Secret Wars, wherever they pop up. And that's going to be an issue, and there's going to be comments, going to be at least sarcastic comments and whatever going back and forth. They're going to hold their own and push back as well. So it'll be interesting to see. And somewhere in my mind, I've got a Red Hulk versus Thing battle at some point in Secret Wars, which would be fun.
It depends how the Red Hulk does in a couple weeks in the movie theater. We'll see.
Don't you listen to them?
But,
don't you? Yeah, right.
But no.
Let's wrap up, Michael. So what do you want to say? Here's what wrap up.
No, I think, I do think we're going to sort of, in the same way that the trailers have sort of given us this, like not mock documentary style, but we see Reed and Sue kind of talking about their lives with people. I think we're going to sort of get a opening that sort of gives you the bare bones of what you need to know through the, hey, we're telling you the story. And then we're going to see the Fantastic Four at their peak. And the villains that they fought in the past are going to somehow get wrapped up into the Galactus thing. And then, then we get to see them step into our universe. So I'm really excited. I think July is going to be a hell of a month. I think we got this and Superman coming out at the same time. Both of them really, really strong in the 60s / Silver Age vibes of comic books. So it's going to be interesting to see how audiences respond and which one of these wins out in the superhero battle of the summer.
Agreed. Final words, Shannon, on this one?
I think who wins out is the audience. That's who I think wins out. That we're getting both of these in the same month. To what you had already said, Johnny, about them. I feel like the Fantastic Four, if this is done correctly, it could follow the same path as the first 3 Cap movies. That you have that proper.
Wow.
60 set adventure, and then to see how they relate to this new world, this new universe that they're in. So I'm super excited about this. Sure, hope that stretching looks cool, but that's a tall order. But based off of what we've seen, it looks like, as Vogel already put, they're confident with this one.
Yeah, I agree. There's certainly when they make you wake up at 4 a.m. and then wait an hour and 15 minutes to show you their trailer, that sounds like confidence to me, which is what happened this morning. And I'm going back to bed after this. Thank you all so much for joining us for this breakdown of the trailer, talking about the Easter eggs, the aesthetic, the look, the vibe, the energy, the powers, all of it. We covered all of it. Thank you for watching it. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at Geek_Buddies, on Instagram at _Geek_Buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. You want to go lift some weights, follow at MKToon. If you'd like to go hit the hay, follow at The Rocha Says.
Absolutely. Mikey.
All right, well, Johnny's going to bed, I'm going to the gym, and while we're doing that, we would love it if you smash the like button below, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, check out the amazing content he's got there, leave your comments below. What did you think this trailer had? What was this trailer lacking? Are you excited? Are you scared? Are you nervous-sided? Let us know below. If you're listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and comments so we go up in the rankings, and as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. Thank you again, everybody. And look for more content from us coming up soon. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new Geek Bite or video here from the
Geek Buddies.